The incredible telemetry data from Lewis Hamilton's SF25 has just left Ferrari speechless, and Charles Leclerc visibly shaken. We're not talking about a slight edge or a marginal gain. We're talking about sector times, braking points, and throttle traces so precise, so unexpectedly dominant, that they've turned the entire balance of power at Ferrari upside down. What was supposed to be just a recovery weekend after Leclerc's crash has suddenly become something much bigger, a revelation. From the moment Hamilton hit the track solo in FP2, the data began to tell a story of control, of late braking mastery, of corner exits that were smoother, faster, and more stable than anything Ferrari's engineers had seen so far this season. And as the team analyzed every corner, every shift, every micro adjustment, Leclerc was right there, watching the numbers that now belong to his teammate, watching the margins grow. How is Hamilton able to get so much more out of the same car? Why is his tire degradation lower, his balance more predictable, his energy deployment more efficient? And what does all of this mean heading into race day? We're about to dive into all of it. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you stay with us until the very end. Because these numbers don't just explain a fast lap. They reveal the start of a potential shift inside Ferrari that could define the rest of the 2025 season. And Leclerc may never see his teammate the same way again. From the moment qualifying began in Montreal, it was clear something unusual was happening inside the Ferrari garage. Lewis Hamilton, still adapting to the SF25, was putting together a performance that defied expectations, not just from fans or analysts, but from within his own team. And the telemetry told the full story. In Q1, Hamilton showed early signs of control and composure, particularly in the low-speed zones where rear-end instability had been catching drivers out all weekend. Turn 3 was a problem spot for many, but Hamilton was able to keep the rear stable through precise brake modulation that saw him decelerate with almost no lateral oscillation. At Turn 6, the braking traces revealed he was consistently 3.7 to 4 meters later on the brakes than Leclerc, while still maintaining higher minimum speed through the corner. His throttle traces out of the Turn 10 hairpin were almost clinical, engaging throttle nearly 0.4 seconds earlier on average compared to Leclerc, with far fewer corrections needed to maintain traction. This tactical switch, developed originally for Leclerc's car during simulator sessions, was shelved after Leclerc's missed FP2. Hamilton ran with it, and it paid off. His telemetry in Sector 3 showed a consistent 0.28-second advantage, especially on the long straight into the final chicane. In raw pace, Hamilton was extracting 0.15 seconds more in top speed at the end of the straight, thanks to better ERS management and a cleaner launch from Turn 10. The car behavior under tire load was also revealing. Hamilton's tire surface temperature deltas were far more consistent, especially on the front left, a key tire at Montreal. Data showed that Hamilton maintained a window of just 3 degrees Celsius variance across all 3 sectors, while Leclerc's ranged as high as 7.5 degrees Celsius, particularly during high-speed transitions. This better temperature control allowed Hamilton to maintain more consistent grip and less understeer in the rapid switchbacks of Sector 1. In contrast, Leclerc suffered minor front-end washout, which forced earlier braking and delayed throttle pickup. The Q3 data was the most telling of all. While neither driver was on pole pace, the internal telemetry comparison highlighted stark differences in driving style and confidence. Hamilton's cornering speeds at turns 7 and 8 were on average 6 kilometers per hour higher, despite using less steering input, measured at a reduced angle variation of 11% lap overlap compared to Leclerc. This reduced steering effort, coupled with greater confidence under braking, allowed Hamilton to position the car more accurately in rotation zones. On their final Q3 laps, Hamilton gained a combined 0.22 seconds in braking zones, 0.18 in rotation, and 0.27 in traction phases, resulting in a net lap advantage of over 0.6 across comparable conditions for cars running the same spec and setup baseline. This is significant. The findings did not go unnoticed inside the Ferrari garage. There was visible tension. Leclerc, already frustrated from his missed FP2, now faced the reality of being outpaced by his teammate in conditions that should have favored him. And this wasn't about luck. It was about data. Hamilton's feedback, adaptation, and execution translated into measurable results. Even Hamilton's steering behavior stood out. After requesting a minor tweak to reduce mid-corner steering input lag, something Ferrari declined to implement, he adapted his approach through the high-speed chicanes. Despite the delay, his steering input variability decreased dramatically, maintaining smoother line transitions with fewer microcorrections. Leclerc, by contrast, was fighting the car more actively, making more frequent steering inputs that disrupted car balance and slowed rotation. Though the free practice sessions set the stage, it was in qualifying that the full extent of Ferrari's intra-team disparity emerged. FP1 and FP2 gave Hamilton room to collect all the relevant data, while Leclerc sat on the sidelines due to a survival cell rebuild. That lost track time meant more than just a missed session. It meant a lost opportunity to validate setup, build rhythm, and prepare strategy. By the time Q1 began, Hamilton had the advantage, not just in car feel, but in sheer technical insight, and it showed. As the weekend progresses, Ferrari will face tough decisions. They aim to reset and recover for race day, but with Hamilton's telemetry now setting the benchmark inside the team, the internal narrative is shifting. The data doesn't lie. And in Montreal, it's told a story that could reshape Ferrari's driver dynamics going forward. What comes next could define not just the Canadian Grand Prix, but the entire dynamic inside Ferrari moving forward. With Hamilton lining up ahead on the grid, armed with a car setup refined through data he gathered, interpreted, and executed with precision, the advantage isn't just mechanical, it's psychological. For Leclerc, the comeback begins under a cloud of technical imbalance and mental disruption. He enters the race not only having lost time on track, but also having watched his teammate convert that time into a clear, quantifiable edge.